first off, let me ask you, Israel crosses demilitarized zone in the first public entry since 1973. So are the Israeli occupation forces expected to back off in the upcoming period of time, or will this move be the beginning of further incursions?
In fact, the occupation forces made is a violation of Syrian territories, taking advantage of the current situation in Syria, and it's considered a crime based on the international law and a violation of sovereignty of the state according to the UN. Also is violating the disengagement agreement in 1974, and therefore poses a real threat to the Syrian sovereignty that's expressed in the far-right current that do not respect the international law, any legal considerations or ethical considerations, and so is there continuing of such violations. And I think that the occupied forces won't stop at the occupied territories or the buffer zone, but they will continue. Beside the violations related to the successive airstrike against a military Syrian target, exploiting the withdrawal of the Syrian army from their position in order to dismantle Syria and to achieve more of Israeli objectives that aren't relevant to the international law or the international agreements and conventions.
Then what are the implications of the Israeli aggressions on international conventions and norms? And are we witnessing different Israeli strategies this time around?
Certainly, there are serious repercussions due to the actions of the occupying territories of more theft of more territories that would have ignited the conflict of the Middle East and the conflict between Israel and Syria, and it also would generate more instability in the region. And I believe that Israel's strategy now is asserts that it has a great role of the incidents upheld in Syria related to igniting turmoil and any similar matter. And I think that it represents a great violations that took place in the Syrian territories. And I think that this strategy is based on flaming Syria, and it is also citing through the statement of the Benjamin Netanyahu that the Assad is playing the fire, and also reflected the orientations of Israel and the equations in the region. Assad by Netanyahu upon the flood operation to disseminate the turmoil and the instability in the region, as well as igniting fires.
Sir, now Egypt has reaffirmed its support for Syria's sovereignty and territorial integrity. How can Egypt's commitment to supporting Syria's sovereignty and territorial integrity influence regional stability and international diplomacy as a whole?
Certainly, the Egyptian stand was very clear and crystal, and rejecting what has taken place by the Israeli forces, and affirmed in an official statement on the importance of the sovereignty of Syria and the integrity of its territories, and the rejection of all violations by Israel to the UN Convention and the agreement signed of the disengagement by the Russian and American guarantee. And I think that Egypt now is playing a real and a very effective role in confronting these Israeli plans to exploit the incidents in Syria for more expansion, for igniting fires. And I think that Egypt, as respecting the international laws, so Egypt is now moving regionally and internationally on the UN to expose these crimes against Syria and its people, and to abort what is made by Israel, along with its partner, for the withdrawal of such territories that would represent a great event for and in another respect of sovereignty. And I think what is made by Israel also poses question around the American stance, particularly the USA is a guarantee of the agreement of 1974, but what is made by Israel might be taking place by the green light of the US. But the Egyptian diplomacy is supporting the Arab causes and the Syrian sovereignty and rejecting what's all been done by the Israeli occupied forces on the Syrian borders.
Mm-hmm. Well, regarding the upcoming emergency UN Security Council meeting, will it yield special arrangements for Syria?
I think that we cannot rely as much on the UN Security Council to play a positive role regarding the Syrian crisis, as well as the Israeli aggression on the Syrian territories, because of the contradiction and the interest of the great powers such as the USA and Russia. They are fully engaged in the Middle East, and both of them have the right of using of veto, and it is expected not to issue a resolution to condemn Israel or to impose Israel to sit back of such violations. And also there is no the non-consensus is also present, so we're not actually expecting any things that will go in favor of supporting Syria or with respect to the Israeli violations.
Mm-hmm. Well, sir, given the unfolding events, what sort of potential scenarios do you foresee for the Syrian factions?
I believe that Syria is today at a real test, as there was an agreement between all the Syrian factions on a common goal, which is toppling the Bashar al-Assad regime. And now the regime has fallen. But we are before challenges that would witness contradictions between the Syrian armed factions, particularly regarding the future of Syria and the form of the current regime currently in place in Syria. There are suspicion about going for a regime of an Islamic ideology. And of course, in fact, there is a non-consensus, but it is a fear that this consensus would prompt challenges in light of the difficult circumstances and the economic problems and crisis, and as well as the Israeli incursion. So it is very important for the factions to agree upon, based on establishing a civil state, writing a new a new constitution and building the Syrian army in protecting the Syrian territories. Therefore, it represents a great challenge before the different Israeli factions.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the international relations expert, Dr. Ahmed Sayed. Ahmed, thank you very much, sir, for joining us here on Q News.